Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we have one I'm so excited for because, well, the VR community is talking about it. There's a lot of questions regarding this game. A lot of people are hyped for it. So I'm so excited to get these two on early into it, especially with a recent Kickstarter just launching.
We'll get the whole dealie.
Oh, yeah. So today we have Daniel Bonaccini and Kevin Beltran from Niorun Studios. Again, they're the ones making Tier 1 Direct Action, a game that burst onto the VR news cycle right around the time of the Upload VR showcase. And again, I've heard people talking since. So Kevin and Daniel, do you mind to talk a little bit more about, who you are and what you do over at Niorun Studios?
I'm Daniel. I'm the head of quality assurance and game design for Tier 1 Direct Action. I started back in the beginning of 2019 with Onward, where I started basically as a quality assurance, and then I transitioned during the years to the game design department. And that's basically it. Kevin?
My name's Kevin. I am head of engineering at Niorun Studios for Tier 1 Direct Action. I guess, to make a long story super short, I started basically obsessed with VR when I saw the DK1. I had the DK2. I was part of the Kickstarter in the early days, back when Palmer Luckey and John Carmack would just answer questions on Reddit when the subreddit had 20 people in it. And eventually I started conducting research in VR when I was a undergraduate student at the University of San Francisco. And then I got hired at Meta to work on Onward. And then from there, I worked at Ramen VR, which created Zenith, and I worked on Zenith. And now I'm over here. That's the super short version.
That's kind of full circle back to, because this is advertised and, kind of marketed as a spiritual successor to Onward. From my understanding, there's a handful of team members that used to work at Onward that are now involved in that. So that's the case for you, Kevin. Was that the case for you as well, Danny? Were you part of the Onward team previously?
Yes.
Yes. I was part, I said, I was part of the Onward team, the original one, in 2019. We also achieved the basically the transition to Quest. So basically I witnessed everything since the beginning at the downpour with Onward. And basically, from the beginning of 2019.
I don't know if there's two better people from the team we could have on, with head of QA and game design, and then the man behind the engineering.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, this is the perfect two to have on. And so, Kevin, you got right into VR right out of high school, and for you, Danny, was VR your first introduction into the game industry, or were you working in flat screen gaming previously?
Was basically my first experience back in 2019. I tried so hard, even in 2018 and 2017, to apply to multiple companies, because probably I didn't say that, but I'm from Italy. So for us, it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit difficult to get into the gaming field, and because there's not a lot of companies. I tried multiple times, but then every time, they were like, "No, I'm sorry, you don't have the experience," and blah 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 and stuff like this. But then I tried with Downpour, and they with Onward, and they put me to the test, and everything worked smoothly. They were like, "Oh yeah, we like how you're working. We like how you're thinking, the way you're thinking." They like that I was able to work in a team without difficult, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you." And I started with them, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. I love this story. So this is two people just fell in love with VR, and just like so many of us said, full steam ahead, I need to do this for my life. So that's awesome. So, I mean, do you want to tell the listeners exactly what Tier 1 direct action is as well, too? We said it's a little bit of a spiritual successor to Onward, but most VR users have played Onward, but imagine they haven't. Somebody just got a headset or whatever. So,
it's possible.
So what exactly is Tier 1?
Well, do you want?
You can go.
You can go,
yeah,
Danny.
Okay. So let's put it in that way. So I really love male sims in VR and on flat screen. I really love tactical shooters. I started to play games like Spec Ops 2, Hidden and Dangerous, even Commandos and the original Rainbow Six, talking about Rogue Spear and the other one, okay? And when I started with VR, and I started to play games in VR, even Onward I'm talking about, there was always something that was missing, okay, especially in VR. And it was basically the interaction with the environment, the interaction with the objectives, the interaction with your teammates. Okay. So everything was looking good and everything was amazing, but it was always lacking of something. And Tier 1, we want Tier 1 to basically fill that gap. And I'm giving you this example for the objectives, okay, for the objective modes. You will have to interact with the objective. It's not just putting out a tablet and putting a code in, that is it's good. It feels good, but it's not the same of interacting with something, manipulating something. And it's basically VR. VR is about manipulating stuff yourself, doing the action yourself instead of just pushing a button. And our hope is to fill that gap and to have the players interacting with most things possible in the game.
I'm excited for this one. And what type of shooter is it going to be? I know that's a silly question, but you look at ones like Onward, that's a little bit more of like the team-based shooter. Then you have shooters like Ghost of Tabor, a little bit more like Extraction. You have Breachers, 5v5. Is Tier 1 going to be on much of the same vein as Onward with, the different game modes that are more, I guess, standard shooter game modes?
Yes, we will have like standard game modes like Team Deathmatch, with and without respawns. We will have like the objective modes. We will have even some small fun modes, of course, like the other games to just chill with your friends, maybe, stuff like this. But everything will be more, so to keep it short, we want something that the other games didn't develop yet outside of basically manipulating the objective, as I said before. We want also the players to don't just go in and shoot everybody and that's it. We want teamwork. So to achieve that, we are trying to create the system, some sort of, points based on your behavior. So it's not just about killing someone on the other team. It's about how you're interacting with your teammates, how you're, in case your teammates need like ammo, in case your teammates need like help because they're injured, or they're down, so you need to heal them and stuff like this. So we want really to push like the teamwork and, as I said before, the interaction with the environment and with the other players.
Liking the concept so far.
Yeah. And
I'm trying to mentally like vision everything, and that's a mistake because you can't.
No, not with it still so early into it. And kind of on that, I mean, what stage is Tier 1 in right now? I know you all have a Kickstarter going on now, which we can talk about
we should.
in a bit. But, internally, is the game playable with the devs? Is it like the maps built, or is it a bunch of triangles right now? What's the game at right now?
That is for Kevin.
It's still early development, but everything's playable. Like we've been doing playtests and kind of nailing down a lot of stuff. Sometime in the very near future, we're going to put more info on that. Am I allowed to talk about any of that? We will be doing like betas, and we will be going into early release pretty soon, and it will be playable. So it's already playable. Internally, we have a lot of fun. Obviously, we have a lot of VR experience, and a lot of people on the team, I would say like most, just enjoy shooters in general, VR shooters. So the ultimate test is going to be when we actually put it out and what everyone else thinks. But I think so far, we're pretty excited.
Well, I think that's important for people to hear because sometimes, with Kickstarters, it's still, there's been, Kickstarters that never came to be anything. So it's important, I think, for people to hear that. Like,
it might have happened.
Oh yeah.
The game is already in development. You have something internally you guys are working on. It's not just a bunch of, smoke and mirrors and, oh, this is what we want to do. It's being in development.
And people that have legit backgrounds. It's not like, there's no snake oil being sold here. It's a real thing. But I want to talk about the Kickstarter campaign because I haven't seen a good Kickstarter campaign in forever. So it's cool that you guys are doing it. But what are you getting for it? Throw us some numbers. How can people find it? How can people support? Because I know people do want to support.
What are the goal with it? All that, that fun stuff.
Lay it on me.
So I think that the best approach is just to go on the Kickstarter page, so you can see by yourself what basically we're cooking for the players, and you will notice that basically we have different tiers, and with different tiers you're also gonna see like different rewards. Like the highest tiers, they have an online meet and greet with us. They will collaborate with us on certain parts of the game, and then also, we're talking about merch box, we're talking about participating in level design and stuff like this, or even Easter eggs. I'm talking about the highest tiers, of course. Not talking about the €5 ones or $5 one for the American people that they don't understand Europe. Joking aside, I think I think that probably the best is to go there, check it out, follow us on social media, follow us on Discord, because we're going to start soon to release like on social media and on Discord, like little pictures, little GIFs, about the game. So because just a video is not enough. So we want to show to the players our efforts to make the game that they just described, something that goes a little bit after the others because of certain things. So yeah, my suggestion is to join us on social media and join us on Discord, and then take a look on the Kickstarter page.
Well, I checked on it. It looked like the Kickstarter was about halfway completed in terms of like the initial funding before stretch funding. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So that's pretty good. I think it runs all through August. So, I mean, geez, the Kickstarter's been up a couple days, over halfway there. Of course, there's some stretch goals and stuff, but I think the VR community is interested in this one. We have former Meta employees coming together.
Yeah, no, it's a strong team. I like how they're funding it with and I'm liking some of the tier rewards of being able to like somewhat be involved in something, and yes, those are the higher end, of course, but those are good ones.
Yeah. If you're passionate about a game, isn't that what you want to do?
Well, everybody always says it, and we do it every single week. We're like, oh, I wish it would, So, I mean, now's your opportunity to be heard. I think it's pretty cool.
That's a cool one. Yeah. And I think to a studio of like Othergate that made Dungeons of Eternity, I know that was for former Meta employees that kind of come together. It's like these are dream teams kind of forming out of, the former Meta teams. If Othergate's any indication, I think what Niorun's going to put out is going to be high quality, but
I would assume so.
Just
based on past.
Are either of you able to take us through the story of, I guess, how this studio even came to be?
I can take it since
it would be the person,
because it was the first one. So everything started that I was still at Meta. Okay, I was still working with Onward, and basically, everybody are aware about the situation that happened at Meta at some point, and I was still there. Basically, most of the team disappeared like Thanos snap. And I was still there. And at some point, Angelica and Murat, the head of the studio, they contacted me on LinkedIn, and they were talking about, that they love VR and they love, the work that we did in Onward and stuff like this. And basically, they presented to me like this dream about making a game that was more about the interactions, more about, getting players' attention and stuff like this. And I was really, in the vision, and I was like, okay, cool. This is really cool. It's something that you don't see like every day, because most of the time, they just want something that is the trend of the moment, and they want to jump on it just to make money. But this time was like, no, we want to make something that the player will enjoy it. They will talk about it. Okay. I was like, yeah, that is really cool. It's the first time that I see something like this, and I can hear something like this. And, yeah, at some point I was that crazy that I left Meta on my will, and I joined them, and we started to basically create the game, create the all the design docs about it, and basically in our minds every day, the game was becoming something bigger and bigger and more, complete, at least for around the vision. And I was like, okay, this is so cool. And after a couple of months after I left, I was like, okay, what if we're starting to bring on board the team that I work with, and I work with, in a certain way, because everybody that are with us in the team at the moment, they are really talented. They're really talented people. They're really fast. They're really providing good feedback. So it's really easy, especially working with Kevin. It's really easy because I'm creating a doc, okay, a design doc, and he's creating like the first iteration with me, okay, and then we can go back and forth with the feedback with the rest of the team, and boom, job done. And we have a feature created and it's working properly. So, and that is amazing that you can create something like this just with a huge team bonding. You know what I mean? So yeah, that basically how everything started. And, month after month, we basically hired most of my old team.
Well, I'm sure that helps so much. You already have that team chemistry.
Well, and I'm assuming there was very little pushback from anybody you contacted to want to come on board, because when you do work with someone for years, good, bad, or indifferent, the flow, people's quirks, the expectations, who delivers. I mean,
you have a former boss, Jack. He calls you with an opportunity.
I jump at it.
That's the way it goes. You get those relationships with team and stuff. So how'd you get Kevin on board? I doubt you had to kick down his door. Like I doubt Danny had to fly to wherever you're at and kick down your door and, scoop you up and bring you to Niorun Studio. So how'd they get you on board?
No, well, I knew Danny and I forgot who else was there, but I just knew that he was there. And I wasn't even sure, like I had just finished working at on Zenith, and I was kind of like, should I take like a break? Should I just like do my own thing, maybe like relax or whatever? And then like I reached out to Danny to see what he was doing, to touch base. And after speaking with Danny, after speaking with the founders, and they basically like laid out like their vision, and I thought it sounded pretty good. But I think what really sold me is like they were very interested in getting people together that have kind of like been there. Like it's sometimes this might be like a VR thing, but it's very difficult to find people who have worked in this space and been successful in this space. And like VR devs are like just very niche. That's why like a lot of times you'll see like people who work on traditional games and then they try to transfer to VR, and sometimes it's rough, sometimes it works. But I think it appealed to me that a lot of the people that have been working in this industry for some time and like have like a lot of that deep knowledge in VR that like only people who play and develop in VR really know. Like I'm sure I don't have to explain it to you guys, like you can't just take somebody who works like on a flat screen shooter and they'll transfer 1-to-1 usually. There's like, I don't think I have to go into it, but basically like that really appealed to me. It's like they wanted like people who actually know the medium. And then it's like, VR is still relatively young. So there's only like a handful of people and studios and devs who have really been like iterating and going project to project and project. And you're starting to see it right now because these companies and these devs are like on their second project, on their third project, and we're like getting better games out of it. So that's like what really appealed to me.
I love it. It's I'm telling you, I have all the feeling of just a passionate dream team going on here. And there's no way the product's not good when that type of passion and effort. And this is real VR enthusiasts on the team. Sometimes you hear like people don't play VR when they're developing on it and stuff. You can tell you all are fans of VR, you know what you want in a game. So this is cool. And how big is the team in total at this point?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question because I've lost the count at this point.
Yeah, it is. It's sizable. I mean, we're an indie studio, but it's like a good indie studio. I don't know the exact number, honestly. I'd say like 15 to 20 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, we're
that's
more
impressive.
than
gonna
20.
guess about
More
20.
than 20. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be more. Yeah, like I'm the guy who always got like guessed the jelly beans in the jar wrong, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
Well, that's still a good sized team.
Yeah.
And I think I read it's 8 total former Onward employees. Is that correct?
It is. Yes.
I
Oh,
believe so.
That's impressive. So what's it like working as, a former team on a new project? Do you feel like the speed of progress is just extremely expedited?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Like, first of all, it's like people that you like you were talking about earlier, you already have that like rapport with. You guys already have a good relationship. You already know like each other's personalities, and it sounds kind of dumb, but like that thing is like super helpful. I'm not scared to just go to Danny and like ask him for something, and that alone helps. But the fact that like we've kind of been here, we're like on like second and third iterations of things, like there's just, it just helps like a lot. It kind of just feels like we've been here before. We're not like stumbling around in the dark, because a lot of VR is kind of like uncharted waters. It's kind of like people are trying to do things that no one's ever done before, or at least that's the type of VR that I like. But so a lot of it is, we don't necessarily start like from scratch. We're like starting with like a lot of knowledge that we built throughout the years. So that helps a lot.
Well, I mean, nothing's going to be harder than probably the first project you ever have to do in VR. So for, like you said, for it to be people's round 2, round 3s, where been there, done that, you're not going to deal with those little hiccups that you more or less have brought upon yourself the first time you do this, because again, there's no like bona fide playbook to making a VR game. So
Yeah,
I think it's friggin' awesome.
Yeah, and I mean,
It's a strong team, dude.
Zenith and Onward are 2 very different games, but
Mhm.
Onward and Tier 1, 2 shooters, you're able to take all that experience that you learned of what works, what
And that's
doesn't
just
work.
one team member.
Yeah.
Out of 20
So you
plus.
have 8 former
Dude, that's
people that have
vicious.
made a first-person shooter in VR already.
Vicious.
I mean, how many people in the world have done that with VR so new? Under 100, 200? People that have actually worked on
Well, and
VR
these are-
shooters.
And these are all the people that make the next generation of
Mhm.
developers' job a lot friggin' easier, because it's like all these hurdles are going to get crossed, and you're bringing basically a new objective, a new play style into a game that seemingly will be new for players. That it's not a copy paste of other games and how you accomplish things. So, but because of that, other people will now bring stuff like that to their. So it's cool to watch these. And that's what I think I love a lot about this, is it is still so new that we're watching this like evolvement of.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Oh, it's amazing to me.
You'll hear something can't be done, and then somebody does it, and
Yeah.
now all of a sudden there's 5 of those games, or
Yeah,
that
man.
movement
It's
style,
like,
or that.
These are all the teams that are making the VR space what it is.
Yeah,
It's
we're
like-
literally seeing the playbook written in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
So I understand if it's not something you can dive too much into right now, with things still being kind of far out. But are you able to talk about some of the things gameplay wise that you plan on doing to incentivize teamwork and like interaction in some of the game modes that you had teased earlier?
Can I go first?
I would say you could go, but I would say try to stick to what we've already.
Yeah, yeah.
Show.
absolutely.
Understood. Yeah.
Public.
Absolutely.
No, I'm just telling him. Yeah.
No,
You got to keep some surprises.
yeah, I know. It's difficult because there's a lot to say about the game, and there's a lot that they will love to show to the community, because we're cooking something cool, really cool. So I can tell you that the entire system that was seen in the trailer about dragging people. That you have this scene where like there's a down teammate and you're dragging out, you're dragging to the safest spot. Yeah, your teammate that is down is already something. Okay, you can heal that player. So that means that basically you're getting hit, you're going down, you can't move at all, and then you're waiting for your teammate, and your teammate will be able to grab the handle on your plate carrier and can, drag you away from the firefight. And that is already something that you don't see in the other shooters at the moment, in the other VR shooters. And then what you can do, you can heal him. Okay, I'm not going into details because we have show something, but not everything. So I'm not going into detail about the healing system. But you will heal your teammate, and it's going to be easy to understand, what you have to do in that moment based on the injury, and then that is already something, and players basically can achieve. That will create like the team spirit that we need in the games. And that is just
I think that's a perfect example. Yeah, that's a great example to kind of give the imagination of like the type of things that are going to be coming. Because I think the Zero Caliber 2 that just came out, and I was going crazy about their revive system. That's pretty cool. Where somebody goes down, you walk over to them, you grab their hand, and you lift them up like that. That type of interaction to revive people is so cool. But then you think to dragging somebody on a battlefield. So now you have to put yourself in a vulnerable position just to get your teammate up. I mean, come on, you're dragging somebody, you're open to getting shot. So now you might even see a situation that you have somebody dragging a teammate. And hell, if I'm in that situation, I want a third teammate there to stand guard.
That's the thing. If you're dragging, you would ideally have one or two other people covering you.
So that means you hear somebody go down, you have to have the whole squad running over to them, or at least a good handful of them. Oh, that's cool. That's a huge strategic.
Yeah, man. I'm liking the strategy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume there's going to be some new healing method that we're not accustomed to some degree.
Again, we don't need to.
No, nothing. And I'll even disclaimer everything you both say that, look, it's under development. Things
maybe
change.
a change. Yeah.
So there should be no promises. Just, yes, if you're saying these are two things that are in fact going to be, then we'll believe it. But if it changed, I think we'd all be understanding that, changes do get made to games in development. Here today, gone tomorrow.
But that does sound freaking cool, though.
Just, when I hear people talk about stuff like this, it just makes me want it. That's the biggest problem, is like you want it. You want to start playing.
Yeah. And you had teased, an ideal, maybe having a beta at some point. In a perfect world, are you able to say when you would like to see the game out? 2026, 2025? Or is it still just let's see how the Kickstarter goes, focus on that, and then, cross those T's and dot those I's after?
Before going into that detail, I want to add a little bit more spice on top of what I just said about the revised system. So something that was probably mentioned just a little about us is that most of us are military veteran. Okay. So for an example, I was the equivalent of your combat medic in the Italian army. And even Kevin is a military
I was in
veteran.
the American military.
So yes. Most of us are military veterans. So what we are creating is also based on our experiences.
Oh, okay. That's freaking cool.
What branch were you in, Kevin?
The Army.
Okay.
So that's cool. So you guys are bringing your experiences that you learned.
As if it wasn't flavorful enough to actually have a veteran military medic having his hands involved into. Well, so I can't even imagine it.
What's cool is just off of you two, it's two different country militaries too, as well. So I can only imagine it expands to even more throughout the team. So I don't know. I'm liking that concept. So some shooters go for more of like an arcadey, the guns might not have weight to it. You can kind of like one hand an assault rifle, all the way to the extreme that I always use is the most hyper realistic of Ghost of Tabor, where baby, how that gun reloads, you better do it in the game. What's the vision for Tier 1? Do you go for more of like an arcadey, Call of Duty campaign type shooter, or are you going for more of like, your experiences in the military, more of a hyper realistic VR simulation?
I don't know if Danny wants the answers, but I will say that it's definitely not super arcadey. And it's closer to, we're definitely not like deep sim, because this is like a game, but it's a much closer to sim than it is like arcadey, see the reticle, kind of pointing kind of thing. There's already those games out there, and I'm sure people could play those games if they want right now, but we're going for something like a little bit more VR focused and a little authenticity, I'd say. Danny?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. It's basically something in the middle, because making something too much arcadey, I don't like that. It's not a vision. And but making
I was trying to be
game,
diplomatic, but
yes, I know, but I'm not. So sorry about that. No, the problem is that if you make a game that is like too much on the simulation side, then you will have like a lot of issues, because it's too much realistic. Only like few selected people, they will understand if for example, if your weapon, it doesn't work for a certain situation. So you need to find the middle ground, because too much simulation then is not going to work well, because then the players, they will not have enough fun. So it's also about having fun. You know what I mean? So I think that we were able to find a good, middle ground to make the game not too much arcadey and not too much simulation.
I will add that like this is also informed by the player, because if we just release it, in the beta, and the players are like, we want more simulation, then like, here you go, more simulation. So we do like, obviously we have like a vision, but you do have to listen to the player. At the end of the day, it's for them. They're the ones that are going to tell you what they like and what they don't like. You can't just be like, eat this, even if you don't like it.
Well, there are teams that will take that approach, though, that this is the way it's going to. No, and what I've seen is I have seen a shift where I'll say years ago, maybe it was more driven on, this is my dream, this is my game, this is what it is.
My way or the highway.
We've actually seen some really hardcore stances about it. But lately, I have seen a shift where a lot of developers go, look, let's give them what we believe they want, and we'll listen to the feedback, and we'll respond accordingly, and we'll make the changes that are the most requested, and we'll cater to the audience that plays. That's pretty friggin' rare, but I'm seeing more studios kind of take that similar approach to it.
Well, I don't think that there's any genre that benefits from early access in VR as much as shooters, because it takes so much refinement.
Oh, you get instant feedback, too.
Oh my goodness. Everybody has an opinion.
They will find everything in a game, like lightning quick.
But it's a very, I don't want to use the word picky, because that kind of is negative, but it's a particular like fan group. They know what they want. They like it specific ways.
Yeah.
So
almost like zombie shooters.
It's easier to make those adjustments in early access than if nobody ever plays it until full release, and then you're just inundated with crazy feedback you never saw coming. So for shooters, I love the concept of early access and beta. I think it's essential.
And I wasn't shocked at all by the answer of like, you all have found like a comfortable middle ground that you believe it's not too sim, it's not too arcadey. Just based on everything else I've heard about it so far, I anticipated that answer would be, we've kind of drawn our own path, kind of right in the middle. We're not teetering too much of either way. So, but again, just makes me more excited to. We ever get a date on when it's?
No, I think
you guys brushed over that.
Yeah, well, what would be the anticipated, in a perfect world, if you're able to say, release of this?
Thanksgiving of 24.
I think
I'm trying to see if there's an exact date here.
Yeah.
If there isn't, I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire on it.
No, we're just being silly.
It's more of a consumer question.
I honestly don't know. I'm looking at the exact date. I want to see if the exact date. So I don't think we have an exact date, but basically in the very short coming months, can I say so? Like in the coming months, it's going to release.
Yep. That is a good
early
idea.
access, or at least for like people to play. Yeah. It's not the full release. We're doing early access. There's going to be lots of iterations, lots of people playing, lots of feedback, lots of adjustments. Yeah.
This Kickstarter is a success, let's say. This isn't something people are going to have to wait a year before they get their hands on. That they can expect to be playing it in the coming months.
Correct. Yeah. No, they don't have to wait that long.
That's huge to know.
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a full release mid 25.
Well, they said, early access first.
Yep.
It would, it's not the full release yet, but to even be able to play it so short after a Kickstarter is...
What are we talking cost wise?
Ooh, I'm sure it's pretty far out for that.
Yeah.
Locked in price.
Yeah. I think, I don't know I think there is no locked in price as of now.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes, I've noticed that's like sometimes the last thing to come together. And then apologize for asking this. I probably could have checked the press release that's been going around and got my answer here, but is it going to be Quest only or is it coming to other systems as well?
So it is going to come to multiple platforms. That's the plan. On the Kickstarter kind of talks about it a little bit more. But as of now, we're trying to focus first on Quest because that's just where the users are right now. And we're going to be able to say more about that in the near future. But for now, Quest is coming first because that's where the most users are. That's where we're going to get the most feedback. That's how we're going to be able to refine the game.
Absolutely. As a Quest user, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I'm not upset.
Yeah,
about this.
but kind of on that.
Yeah. I was going to say, full disclosure, I am PC VR and Quest. Like, I probably split my time between the two. Quest is just very convenient, but PC VR is, higher fidelity for some games.
That was actually going to be my follow-up of what do you guys play on? So you're 50-50, and for yourself, Danny, what do you play on? Are you a Quest user? Or?
Most likely, because, I really like to visit places and stuff like this. So Quest is more convenient just for that because you can bring your headset with you and you can play various games. Most of the times are shooters, of course, but it's more convenient for me. But if I'm at home, for sure, I'm going to play like a PC VR.
Makes sense.
We do play both.
Yeah, there's just something about the convenience of just putting on the headset and boom, you're in.
I love when a PC VR game comes to stand up because then it just, again, the convenience. And if we do travel, a headset's coming with you. So
yeah,
can't drag around a desktop with me.
And for games you all play, is it mainly shooters or, do you play a diverse range of games, so to say?
Oh, man. How much time do you have?
Exactly.
It's very diverse. Very diverse.
Yeah, list some of your favorites. You guys have the mic for as long as you need.
Well, I play both flat screen and VR. For VR, the last couple that I've played, I was actually in Valheim VR, the VR mod for Valheim, which was amazing. It feels like a new game. Resident Evil 2 mod in VR, amazing. Of course, I play my shooters. I play Onward. I play some Contractor Showdown, Breachers. Played some Veil, especially when it came out. Lots of games, man. I like those are the ones that are more recent. And then like on flat screen, been playing. I used to be a big Counter-Strike fan back in high school. I mean, player. Like I played competitively. Now I just like play whenever I need to get a little sweat going. Valorant. I play a lot of Apex recently. Elden Ring, of course. Just lots of games. Oh my god! And I just joined like a play test for Damn 2, which is like a multiplayer horror game. Phasmophobia VR. I was in that too. Whenever I need to get scared. Just like literally, I could do this all day.
Oh no, I get it.
How about yourself, Danny?
So, yeah, also my list is really long. Sorry about that. But about VR, Into the Radius, I love that game. Of course, I played a lot of Onward. I mean, I think my Steam counter of the hours basically blew up also at some point. Then in VR, also The Walking Dead. That game is really, really amazing. They have some really good mechanics. for flat screen instead, it's all about Ground Branch, Arma 3, Arma Reforger, and even something else that is outside of the shooters. That is like games like Farming Simulator, like Hero Truck and American Truck Simulators. Those games are amazing. And I also recently finished Alan Wake 2. That is one of my favorite games of all the time because their game design is amazing.
No spoilers, please. I haven't played it yet.
I want.
Well, I've noticed for your whole list, Danny, for VR games, and then it kind of carries over this a bit into the flat screen side. All of those VR games you listed, they're very big in like VR specific mechanics. You know, all of those games really highlight the possibilities of VR. You know, especially Into the Radius with all the mechanics and all those. So is that a very big thing to you as a player? You really want to feel like you're in VR doing interactions? I know you mentioned that with the game modes in Tier 1 as well, too. So it's just something I picked up on.
Yes, exactly. For me, you know, VR is about being in the game, being part of the story in the game. So if you don't interact with stuff, if you can't like pick up something from a table, if you can't like interact with, I don't know, the weapons in a certain way, you know, you don't feel like being in VR. It's like using a mod for a flat screen game with your VR headset. So it's not the same. And I'm telling you this because I started back in the days when, with like Kevin, with the DK1 and the DK2, with the Razer Hydra as controllers, you know. So for me, I basically saw the entire VR industry changing, even the games changing and stuff like this. And something that was really lacking up, that all the games that were lacking up, was basically interaction. And then we saw games like L5 Alex doing the right thing, you know, about interaction, and then not doing a great job with the locomotion, you know. So we never had something that was like fine on all the sides, you know what I mean? So yeah, for me, yes. For answering your question in short, yes, for me is a big thing.
Well, that gets me excited as a consumer for this game, because when the game designer...
Well, it seems the expectations that the team is putting on it is pretty huge, because it's got to satisfy them. And you look at the taste buds of just these two, and it's like, this is quite the Chevron or Michelin star restaurant we're getting.
Again, dream teams, super teams of former developer teams coming back together into a new studio is kind of going to be the story of the next year. Hey, a couple months away, you know, it's going to come in no time.
You'll hear me whining weekly until I see it coming out now.
Well, this is going to be a good example to me of gamers making games. No,
because the best end products come from this.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited. But something I've got to know is who's the best at the game in the studio. If you guys are doing an internal play test, who's walking out number one?
You know, I will say, before Danny says anything, I think you're speaking to the top two right now. Would that be fair, Danny? Maybe. You know what? Let me take that top three, because I think there might be at least one competitive. I mean, we're two of the three, or did I lose my spot?
I think you have lost your spot, especially because, you know, as I said, I'm taking care of game design, but I'm also taking care of the QA department. So that means that I'm always inside the asset. I'm always testing the game. So that means that I know all the tricks.
Yeah.
So
he's basically like Neo, like after the resurrection. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair.
That would be such a fun little video before the game drops of like all the developers squaring off inside.
It's getting murked.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, it would become very clear very fast who's the best. I'm excited for this one. So where's the easiest way? I know you mentioned, you know, join the Discord and to stay up to date and stuff. Where's the easiest way for players to find all that info? Is there a website they can access that's easy?
Yes, there is. The website
tier1vr.com.
Yes, tier1vr.com.
You saw the screen light
like
pop
little
up.
Firework displays on both screens.
Yep.
That was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Just got to make sure before I say it. Send people to the wrong one would be painful. No, I think people, you know, I think the more people realize they can actually support it right now,
And have it in not too long. That's huge for Kickstarters.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect timing. If there was ever a perfect time to be talking to these two gentlemen, it's now. And again, I've seen how people in the community they'll say it a lot, like, "Oh, I wish I could get into it now." You know, and I've even mentioned it, like, "Oh, if this were a stock, I'd invest some money." It's kind of similar in a way because you're getting something for it, no matter what. So
yeah, if there's other team-based VR shooters that are just missing something for you, it's like, why not get involved with supporting and playtesting this one early, help shape it to be the game that you want.
And a team that's got a proven track record. So this isn't like you're coming with a broken track record. It's like the path to success has already been proven. It's been there, done that. So now let's do it ourselves and bring something original to the table.
I said it at the start. I get strong Othergate vibes from Niorun Studio of just a highly experienced VR developers coming together and making a game that they want to make.
Gamers, like you said earlier, gamers making games. They make the best games.
So I'm excited for this one.
No forced effort.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything you two wanted to say to the listeners that maybe we didn't touch on about Tier 1 or anything regarding that?
I just want to say, can I just say, well, if this one isn't about Tier 1, but I just want to give a shout out to anybody who used to play the old Rainbow Six games, specifically Rainbow Six Rogue Spear and Covert Ops. Those were probably the first games that I dumped a ton of time into. And hopefully I'll see some of those guys around in VR in Tier 1. Danny, you're saying?
For me, it's just to stay tuned and to follow us on social media and also join our Discord so you can see basically the development of the game. You can see all the news. You can see all the pictures and video that we're going to post next. So you can stay really updated on what's going on and what we're working on. And I just want to add something that Kevin mentioned, but we didn't put much emphasis on it, is about the players' feedback. That, we didn't mention that a lot, but it's something that we are already receiving feedback about the trailer and everything, and we are already, taking notes. And we are basically taking in consideration every part of the feedback that they're providing so far. Because as Kevin mentioned before, when we're going to release the early access of the game, is going to be a back and forth in iterations based on the feedback. And that is really important because most of the games I'm talking about in general, not just VR, they're like, yeah, this is our vision. We get stuck with it and we don't really care about your opinion. Okay. In our case, it's like, yeah, we care about the vision, but without you guys, this is not possible. So we need to take in consideration also your point of view.
And
I love that.
Can I say, just to add on to Tier 1, its development, at the end of the day, we are people who love VR and we love working in VR, and we want to make a game that has cool, new stuff in it, not just the same stuff that you're used to doing. So we kind of want to push VR, push the boundaries. And if you are in it for that little authenticity of what you would expect from a tactical shooter or a milsim, we are informed from that aspect with several veterans on the team. So I think those are two things that not all the games have that is probably somewhat unique to us.
I'm excited for it.
Truly, it's the perfect storm.
Yeah. Former game, actual professional experience, but then also life experience for this genre. Let's go.
This is a perfect, has all the makings for a perfect situation.
Yeah. And like I said, at the start of the Kickstarter, a little over halfway completed on the initial
Sooner
goal.
It gets to the goal, the better for everybody involved, correct?
Well, there's some really cool stretch goals as well, too. So even though I'm confident you all are going to hit the initial goal, I really want to see you all fully funded. Let's see this one. I think a rising tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. So another good, high quality military shooter bringing new things to VR is only going to improve everyone. So,
well, and I think, I believe in my heart of hearts it's going to be successful, but I also believe it's going to lay a very serious expectation to the studio that when a game comes out from this studio that
Mhm.
there's going to be some new element into the VR space we as consumers haven't really necessarily been able to enjoy. So
And dude,
it's
if
kind of double-edged.
they're already listening to feedback just off a
I know,
trailer, which
I
we
know.
know a trailer doesn't
And-
always
and
capture how good a game
I
is.
honestly, even if like buying into a game and not being vocal about it, but just going for the ride and seeing where the evolution of it,
Mhm.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Or being part of the voice that, helped change the game to what it's going to be down the road. It's a win-win.
Yeah. So if you enjoy VR shooters, you want to see another one on the market, maybe even help dictate it
This
depending
one's
on the
bringing
tier.
its own element.
Go check out their Kickstarter. Like I said, even if the initial goals met, there's some really cool stretch goals. I'd love to see them,
Achieve,
surpass and hit. And like I said, it'll be good for the entire VR industry if this one's a hit.
Love good Kickstarter.
Yeah. So let's do it. I'm excited. Thank you too for joining us. Maybe we can get you back on, when
After
the game's after the
I
Kickstarter's
already
done,
noted
when the
that.
game's ready to
Because then we can
launch
talk
in
more
early
openly.
access. Yeah. Then we can talk a little bit about like a bit more
I can't
about
wait
the different
until it
game
comes
modes.
out, and then we can look back on this and see just how much was actually withheld of stuff that's
Well, I feel bad for them. There's nothing worse than when you're excited and passionate about something and you're talking in a situation where you can't talk
about.
openly.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, I want to so bad. So we'll definitely have to get you back on if you guys want, when things are playable and open, and then we can kind of go completely crazy. But I'm excited for this one. Good luck with the rest of the Kickstarter. Like I said, though, I'm confident you all are going to crush it.
Yeah.
To the Ruff Talk listeners, if you want to go support, check out
Please.
their Kickstarter. I'll post the link in the show notes, the episode description. And stay tuned. Maybe we'll have to have them back on in a couple months.
I hope so.
So thank you all for listening today. Thank you, Kevin and Danny, for taking the time to join us. And to listeners of Ruff Talk VR, go support another great game. All right. Check you all out later, and we'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Take care.
Bye.